Welcome to the Boomer's Guide to a Vibrant Life with Vickie Washburn. Vickie and her guests will share their journey of the golden years and how they're creating a vibrant life. Topics will include family, fun, life, love, travel, and everything Boomer. You too can have the best of your vibrant life now. We are broadcasting from Global Voice Radio every week, and now here's your host, Vickie Washburn.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to A Boomer's Guide to a Vibrant Life. Tonight, I have Holly Wade on the line with me. And Holly is also a host on the Global Voice Radio, and her show is called Living from the Inside Out. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you did.
And Holly and I don't live too terribly far apart. She is in the Kansas City area, and I am in the Tulsa area. And we've just been sitting here having a little bit of a conversation about life and our bodies and how we navigate what goes on in our life. And so we're just going to share some of that with you all.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks for asking me to be here. It's
is
funny because there for a while, listeners need to hear this, that you and I would really have similar topics, but we'd never discussed what our show was going to be.
No.
Your show would appear and mine would appear, and it'd be like, how? So we knew we needed to just get on and talk.
Yeah. It was just the weirdest thing is like, I don't know, for like a month and a half or so, we had almost identical shows.
Yeah.
So
funny.
Yeah. So you look lovely tonight.
Thanks. We've had some rain, which is fine. We need it. I'm not going to complain about moisture around here by any means, but man, it's it was out in the rain earlier, so my hair is a little.
Yeah, you get that natural, what do they call it? The beach body wave.
Yes, which I have no problem getting anyway.
Yeah, me either. So tell me about what you've got going on.
Yeah, so I'm a holistic health coach, and what led me to that is 25 years in the fitness and wellness industry. And early on, I was pounding my body, thinking that's what I was supposed to do to get the beach body and all these things that we're told by the, by the image, that stuff. Yeah. And even through what I learned as a fitness professional. So I was pounding my body, sometimes teaching 5 times a day. I was in my 20s. I was hurting, and I was like, this isn't right. My energy tanked. No matter what I ate, I couldn't reduce the bloat in my gut. And I was having some digestive issues. Fast forward a little bit, come to find out I had Crohn's disease. And that led me on this path of having watched my dad when I was growing up, because my dad also has Crohn's, having watched him be kind of like a guinea pig for the next medicine and what that did to his body and all these things, I thought, I don't want to go that route. And so I started looking more holistic. And let me tell you, I was angry with the medical community because it took me 2 years to be taken seriously. I was frustrated with my industry because what I thought was health wasn't health at all. It was actually fueling and feeding this dysfunction and the system that was breaking my body down rather than building it up.
Yeah.
And so I had to unlearn all these things, relearn nutrition, relearn movement in a way that was nurturing and assisting my body for the long run, learn stress relief techniques. So that's when I started meditating, and that's when I discovered yoga and Pilates, and started learning about energy work, and just kind of layer by layer by layer, kept peeling these layers off of me and unlearning things and relearning and learning new. And in that process, I feel like I've landed in a place where I understand how it integrates. And that's really what I try to help other people do, is to get to know and understand their own bodies, because our bodies are so wise. And all the answers are right here inside of us. It doesn't mean that we don't get help. It just means that, as an example, right now in my yoga poses, I know that my spine needs an adjustment. So I'm going to go seek my chiropractor out.
Right.
We know what help we need. We know how to assist our body and to create vibrancy.
Our bodies know. Our bodies are, everybody, we're taught that our brain is where our intelligence is.
Yeah.
But that is not exactly true.
Correct.
The brain is like the hard drive of your computer. It's a great storage center. It's a great command center. But your whole body, every cell in your body, every single cell has a memory and retains knowledge and memory and adapts based on that knowledge and memory. And, that's part of what evolution is adapting, your body adapting and passing that on to the next generation. And with this new study of epigenetics,
oh my gosh,
it is totally fascinating. And a lot of what I do is to work on the energetic level to help people maybe release some of those things that they're not even aware that they're carrying, because either they happened so young in their childhood or they happened in a previous generation.
Right.
And people don't realize that not only can you carry a physical DNA trait from a previous generation, but those memories can actually be embedded in your DNA and come through to you, just like blue eyes come through.
Yeah, there is a hardwiring in us. And there's always the psychological question of, is it learned or is it just the way you are? And there definitely is both. And even if that's in your hardwiring, I've learned that you can reprogram it.
You can.
You can always reprogram it. And that's the beauty. That's where our power and our choice resides. We don't have to continue down the same path that we're on.
And a child can be born and be afraid of certain things. They can be born and be afraid of heights, or be afraid of loud noises, or be afraid of dogs, or whatever. And sometimes that fear makes no sense at all.
Right.
And it's not learned because it's been the way they were from the minute they were born.
Right. And some fear is legit.
Yeah.
Some fear really is for our survival.
Right.
But that's very little of what we experience in our modern day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, that's been a really fascinating thing for me to learn, because it's not something I was ever taught.
Yeah.
We're not taught that in school. You're taught, that all comes from experiences, and it comes from, what's in your DNA is just what makes up you, your hair color, your eye color, whether you have light skin or dark skin or, whatever. And it's really a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah. Which makes it, lately I've just been thinking about that, and that mind-blowing idea. Yeah, you are really unique. Every cell in your body makes you.
Yeah. And I think Dr. Deb told me that, I can't remember the exact timeline, but it's something like in less than, I don't know, it's a short period of time, your body, literally every cell in your body remakes itself.
Yeah, I've heard 7 years.
Yeah, I was thinking 2, but it may be 7. I don't know. But
still a pretty short period of time when you consider the average lifespan is 80 some years.
So you figure if it's 7 years, you remake your whole self over 10 times.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Which is what drives me to go, okay, what am I going to put in my body today? Because I have the chance to help my cells renew so that they are healthy. And whatever's sloughing off and dying and old, because that's a process too, but whatever's sloughing off, then thank you for that life that you had and for supporting me. But let's generate these new ones so that they are
healthier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stronger, healthier.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. I see so many people. I'm 62 in a month. I'll be 62 years old. And I see so many people that are my age and maybe just a little bit older, some even a little bit younger, that have a I can't attitude. You know, I'm too old, I can't do that, or I'm too old, I'll hurt myself, or, you know, and I just keep thinking there's no reason we have to be that way. You know, I've been a real slug. I will tell you, I've been a real slug. I have not worked out in probably 5 years. I mean, I've walked and done some things, but I have not worked out. And one of the things that I've decided that I have got to do is I want to get into yoga. Because as you age, yoga is a wonderful practice to get into because of balance. And as people age, balance becomes a very big issue.
Absolutely. I teach the class to 50 and older, and really it's open to anybody, but that's kind of the primary group. And that's what we're really doing is we're realigning those misalignments. We're trying to create that core strength. Balance has been the big thing, but the little subtle things that they have noticed in a little over a year's time for those that come regularly is fewer chiropractic appointments. That's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Fewer physical or shorter amounts of physical therapy. That's kind of big, saves the pocket. Yeah. Just the way that they feel, their confidence, their balance, their upper body strength off the floor, things are getting easier because we're creating mobility in those joints.
Right.
And you're absolutely spot on. The first thing that goes is balance. The next thing is the ability to get up and down.
Yeah. And not only that, but just, you know, the peace and the calming effect of yoga. Just that centering in your soul. It's not just a centering and a balancing of your physical body. No. It's a balancing in your soul. And, you know, I've had some people who have said, oh, I'm not going to do yoga because it's a religious practice that's not part of my religion, you know. And I understand where they're coming from, but my practice of yoga, when you do that ending meditation part and it's just quiet and dark, and it's like I tell people, there's prayer and there's meditation. Prayer is when you're talking, meditation is when you're listening.
Amen, sister. That's exactly what I say too.
Yeah, and so to me, that's my time to just get at peace.
Yeah. And
relax and just wait to see what God's going to tell me, you know.
Well, the way I got into meditation was to learn what that still small voice in me sounded like, because I didn't know it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you were talking about how we're not taught about our bodies. We're not. But in my church upbringing, I was taught to pray, but I wasn't taught how to meditate.
You're not taught to listen for Spirit's voice. They tell you that Holy Spirit will speak to you, that Holy Spirit will come to you, but then they never really explain what that's like or help you to learn to trust it.
Right, exactly.
And I know for me, it actually got to the point that I swear, this is so funny, Holy Spirit was screaming at me. And I was still going, well, if it's really you and not the enemy, then you need to show me, you know, you need to prove to me, because I don't know whether to trust that you're the real thing or you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
And Spirit did. Yeah. You know, whatever I said, I need you to do this to prove to me that this is real. There it was. Yeah. And that's been a real big learning thing for me over the last 5 years.
that's a bit, yeah. Because
and to know that that voice was there. I mean, I was hearing that voice and doubting it all those years.
Yeah. But that's that relationship piece. And to build any relationship, it takes time, intention, and attention. And if it's a skill. Relaxation is a skill. Listening is a skill. For me, that's what meditation is.
Yeah.
Sometimes my monkey mind will not turn off.
Yeah.
There are those days. But I've come to the place where I now know that feeling inside of me and which voice I really do need to pay attention to.
Yeah. And that's been a real lesson is, okay, which voice is this? Mm-hmm. And to come to the realization that voice that I don't want to listen to, more times than not, is ego. Mm-hmm. And I think people aren't taught to discern ego as being the enemy.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
Our ego's what really, the Bible says that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and divide. Well, who does that? Our ego. Right. Gets us all wound up doing crazy stuff. Thinking crazy stuff.
And we think the spiritual stuff, when we get the real thing, is the crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. When you really, really think about it, it's the ego stuff that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we think it's real.
Yeah. And we're also told to guard our hearts and our minds.
Yes.
There's reason. There's very practical reason for that. There's a reason to guard those thoughts. There's a reason to pay attention to them and to know which ones you just let go and give it another, don't pay any attention to it. But it comes with practice.
And it's another good reason to get still and quiet.
Yeah.
Because when you don't let your mind get quiet, then you can't really receive those messages that you need to hear.
Right.
You don't get that affirmation or direction or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that is so cool. I love that you teach older adults. I have really been contemplating how to go about becoming a yoga instructor so that I can work with people my age. Because when I go into a yoga studio, I'm probably I might be 1 or 2 out of 20 that are over 40.
Yeah.
Everybody else is in their 20s and 30s. And it's kind of intimidating.
And it's not, it's got a bent to it that is, how do I want to say it? Isn't the way that I like to practice yoga. I'll just be honest. Because I think it does, even though it's not supposed to be competitive, it becomes competitive. Even though it's not supposed to be judgmental, it becomes judgmental. The culture of the Lululemon and having the suburban moms walking in with their cute bags and their little yoga outfits. That's not yoga. I'm pretty sure.
I'm wearing my sweatpants and my tank top from my Cayman dive trip 15 years ago.
And I'm pretty sure that whenever yoga started 3,000, 5,000 years ago, whenever, they're not exactly clear when it started, but I'm pretty sure none of that existed then.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
I'm pretty sure you don't need anything. Bare feet and ground.
Yeah. And that's probably and they did it like that, on bare feet and ground.
Yeah. There were no mats. There were no props.
Yeah, it wasn't on a mat. It wasn't in a room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a form of self-discipline.
Yeah.
In a good way. It was to come to your mat, to practice observing, to observe yourself and learn about yourself. And
to listen to your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
to open up, to energize.
Yeah. And to feel where your body was struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there were reasons that monks did yoga. They'd open up their bodies so that they could sit for hours without cramping.
Yeah.
So there's that historical base to it too, and a very practical reason. It's not all airy-fairy woo-woo.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very tangible and concrete when you go through and understand what yoga is actually about.
Yeah.
Benefits of it for all ages just is, it's astounding. And if there's something that you do want to have for longevity, that is one that I would say go to, and the other one is dancing.
Two of my favorites.
Yeah.
I love to dance.
Those are the things. And I've been blessed to have the opportunity to work with my grandmothers as they've been aging. My one grandma passed away in December, but I worked with her a lot just on physical activity and movement. Now I'm working with my other grandma. And the difference between when we were working together and then when my grandma had a heart attack and some things and was hospitalized, and then no activity. It was so fast. So fast. So every little ounce of physical activity that you can do adds up.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got to keep moving. I told my mom passed away last October, and I would tell her that all the time. Mom, you've got to get up and walk. And she'd say, I can't. I said, walk to the sidewalk and walk back. Do that 3 or 4 times a day. You don't have to walk far. Just do that. Then the next week, walk to the neighbor's driveway and back 3 or 4 times a day. My little neighbor man is going to be 100 years old in May, or he may have just turned May. Maybe it's July. Anyway, he's getting ready to be 100. I noticed him last year. He was still mowing his own yard.
Oh, bless his
I
heart.
noticed this year his grandson is mowing his yard. And I've noticed through the winter, I have seen him out in the yard with a walker for the first time. And it was so funny because I see him out in the grass and he's like, got the walker, and he'd pick it up and sit it down and take a couple of steps, and pick it up and sit it down, take a couple of steps. And then I look and I see him all of a sudden pick the walker up, and he's just walking, carrying the walker. It's like, oh.
That's awesome.
I know. I said something to him because he used to walk 3 to 5 miles twice a day.
Oh my goodness.
And I said, I've noticed you're not walking, you're not out walking the streets anymore, Carl. I was giving him a hard time. He goes, yeah, my kids told me I couldn't anymore. I said, really? Why? He said, they're afraid I'm going to fall down in the middle of the street and somebody's going to run over me. So he must be getting a little unsteady. He's not he's a very thin, muscular man. For 100, he is extremely muscular. It's amazing to me.
Wow.
But at 89, he was out putting siding on the side of his house in August on scaffolding at 89.
You made that comment earlier about the I can'ts that show up, and hearing people making excuses.
Yeah.
There is an example of what happens when you let go of the excuses and just live and do what you can and keep showing up and push yourself to be physically active.
Yeah. He, in fact, part of the reason that he walked like that twice a day is because he fell. We had back-to-back snowstorms it's probably been 7-8 years ago. And one time we got 14 inches, the next time, like a week later, we got 22 inches. He shoveled his driveway both times by himself, manually. Well, so he shovels his driveway and he thinks if he can get out of his driveway, he can go to the store. Well, nobody had cleared our street.
Oh, so no.
His driveway, and he can't get out of his driveway. So he pulls back into his garage and he notices that the little ball hanging down from his garage door opener is gotten tied up into the garage door opener. So he gets his ladder and he crawls up to get it untangled, and he falls off his ladder.
Oh, no.
Breaks his hand. And so he's in the hospital, and the doctor tells him that he's never going to walk without a walker. And he goes, yes, I will. And the doctor goes, well, no, I don't think you will. And he goes, yes, I will.
Yeah.
And the doctor goes, well, you probably will be in a wheelchair. And he goes, no, I won't. And so he came home and he used a walker for about 2 weeks. And I would see him out, go out to the mailbox with his walker and back. And then pretty soon I saw him walk into the neighbor's yard to their driveway with his walker, and then he walked back. Well, then he was doing it without his walker. And then he was walking to the end of our street with just a stick. And then he walked, he was off and running, doing 3 miles twice a day.
That is determination right there.
That is. He said, that doctor was not going to tell me that I was going to just, he just wasn't. And so he just amazes me. He's quite a remarkable man, in my opinion.
Wow. That's awesome.
So, and he's what I want to be like,
And isn't it great when we have someone to role model that?
Yes.
So that we can say, hey, it is possible.
Yep.
And to observe how they do it.
My grandmother had her own beauty shop and worked until she was 89.
Yeah.
I said, why are you closing the beauty shop now? She goes, all my clients are in the nursing home. I just go out to the nursing home and do their hair there.
Oh.
So I thought, well, there you go.
Yep.
Cut your overhead.
Yep. No joke. No joke.
So, tell me a little bit about your thoughts on diet. I know that with the health issues that you're dealing with, I'm sure that there's some things that you've had to adjust, and because I know I have friends who deal with that too, and I know some of the struggles that they've had. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, I think diet is a 4-letter word. It doesn't work.
I don't as in diet, but I'm talking about diet is in
terms of nutrition. The way that I really approach it is pretty simple. I eliminate sugar. If there is one change you want to make in your nutrition, cut the white stuff. I'm not talking fruit. I'm not talking what's in food. I'm talking about all the added, the high fructose corn syrup and all that stuff. That was one of the first things I eliminated. I pay attention to my gluten. So it's not that I can't do bread, but if I'm really kind of starting to tip, I cut the gluten right away. And
have you tried einkorn flour?
Yes. And actually I do well with that. Yeah.
I was curious about that because I really haven't talked to anybody who's had to cut gluten, who has used the einkorn instead to get a feel for, how it compares.
Yeah, I do all right with it. And every body is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
So understand that you test it, and if you feel ick, you don't do it again.
Yeah.
That's cool. But really my philosophy is food. Eat food. I don't even get caught up on whether it's organic or not because I live in a rural part of the world where it's not always as accessible, but I do know how to wash my produce and get the gunk off of it. And all you have to do is take a tablespoon or a capful of hydrogen peroxide in a sink full of water. Soak your veggies and fruits in it. That'll get the gunk off. You're good to go.
You can also use just a few drops of lemon essential oil.
Yes.
And that, not only does that get the gunk off, but if you use it on berries and different kinds of fruit and vegetables, it will keep them from molding.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to try that now.
Yes. In fact, it's really good with berries, and they won't mold. If you don't eat them fast enough, they will dry out in your refrigerator, but they will not mold.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yes.
Thank you for that tip.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But really, I'm just a fan of eat as many colors of the rainbow every day, add some protein, and make sure you get some fat. It is really important that we get our fats because that's what's going to help your immune system. And
your brain.
Absolutely. Yeah.
People don't realize their brain needs that.
It functions off of fat.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and sugar is just, I just read more and more about, it's almost like heroin, you know?
It's crack cocaine to the brain, and what it does in your liver is very similar to what an alcoholic's liver looks like.
Yes.
So we now have kids with fatty liver disease. Same thing that happens to an alcoholic. Why? Because of sugar.
Yeah.
You know?
And not to say that you can't have sugar. You know, I'm an absolute believer in having a tablespoon of honey a day.
Oh yeah, but that is a completely different type of sweetener.
It is a different type of sugar, exactly.
We're talking the white stuff, that white substance that
and really, processed. Yes.
Yeah, that's the one to stay away from.
Yeah. But you know, people, and this is my pet peeve. I just absolutely, if I was ruler of the world, I would immediately outlaw anything with aspartame in it.
Oh, I'm with you, sister.
I would make every restaurant pull every packet of that fake sweetener and replace it with something like stevia, or, I mean, there are some natural sweeteners that don't create an insulin spike.
Right.
That it's one of the things I just bug people about. It's like smoking. Two things I bug people about: don't do that Diet Coke, and don't smoke.
Yeah. Those are surefire ways to bring on the cancer.
Mm-hmm.
To invite it right in, give it a door and usher it in. And yeah, I'm with you on that. And sugar is the way to create the imbalance in your gut, because all the bad bacteria, which we have 10 times more bacteria. We have 10 times more bacteria in our bodies than cells. And we have good bacteria and bad bacteria. So when you think about that, sugar feeds the bad bacteria. That's what causes candida and yeast infections and gut issues. That's the basis of it right there. So if you want to,
the basis of so many other diseases.
Yes, absolutely. Because gut health,
brain fog, and you know, they say that the gut is actually the second part of your brain, that if your gut's not functioning properly, your brain's not functioning properly.
Right. There's a nerve that connects your brain and your gut. It's called the vagus nerve. It directly links those two, and your gut has its own nervous system called the enteric nervous system. So that if you are, because our body is just designed so well.
I know.
If you're in an accident that damages part of your brain is injured, your body's going to still give you the fuel that it needs so it can sustain itself. It's smart enough to know that your gut still has to work.
Right.
It's just, it's mind-blowing. The more I learn, and there's more to keep learning, but it's just like, oh my word, how can you not think that this is by design?
I know. And, you know, one of the things I just learned that just a couple of years ago from my friend, Dr. Deb, is, you know, they tell you, oh, cholesterol's bad, cholesterol's bad, cholesterol's bad.
No, your body needs it.
It's the foundation for all of your hormones. If you don't have cholesterol, you have no hormones.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. And again, one of those things you are not taught.
Right.
And then the media, you know, tries to convince us that cholesterol is bad, take these statins, do this, do that. And
Big pharma.
My pharmacist friends have all said, absolutely do not take that drug.
Yeah.
And when your pharmacist tells you that,
yep.
I mean, your pharmacist might not tell you that, but your friend that's a pharmacist will. So,
nice disclaimer there.
Yeah, I'm lucky to have 2 or 3 friends that are pharmacists. So I always call them and go, what do you think about this?
Yeah, well, we have to question everything because marketing has just become one big form of propaganda.
It is.
And it's slanted truths. It's not truth.
Yeah.
there's always a little glimpse, or a little twist, like, ooh, here's this nugget of truth. Now let's layer that in. So as an example, you can get fit in 10 minutes a day. No, you cannot. Exercise science does not. There's nothing about exercise science that would support that claim. But they'll twist these little pieces of science to make it fit their message.
Yeah.
They'll make it sound intelligent, like, ooh, if you do this, it's going to work the lower abs. We don't have lower abs. We have the rectus abdominis. It runs from the top of your rib cage down to the pubis. Bottom line, there's no top and bottom. It's one muscle that runs up and down. The deep muscle, the muscle fibers run horizontally. That's your transverse abdominis. The only way you engage that is by drawing your belly in and supporting your organs with it. That's it. So a plank is an example of how you would engage those. It's just so when you start, it infuriates me on one hand, and it's kind of comedy on the other hand.
Yeah.
I have to let it be.
We all want a quick fix. I mean, everybody wants a quick fix. That's why people go to the doctor and take a pill instead of going, what am I doing wrong in my diet that I need to adjust to fix this issue that I'm dealing with?
Right.
And I know, being that I'm the age that I am and being postmenopausal, weight is an issue.
Yeah.
It's an issue for a lot of us that go through menopause.
Yeah.
So I've recently gotten back on my bioidentical hormones. Well, I've also decided, you're probably going to want to beat me for this, but I decided to give keto a try.
Okay.
For a couple of reasons. One, because it cuts out all that white stuff. And it gets your body used to not having it. You get through that withdrawal.
Right.
And it still feeds your brain.
Yes.
And it's really a pretty healthy.
I actually would agree with that.
It's pretty healthy in that it absolutely advocates to get whatever carbs you do eat from greens.
Right.
And, you can't, that's absolutely the best.
Which, when you understand greens, those are detoxifiers. Those are helping your liver.
Exactly.
Helping to pull the metals out of your gut. So when you think about, we need our greens every day. We need all that stuff. I'm not going to kick your booty for trying keto, because
I've never done it before. So it's been an interesting, trying to figure out what to eat has been an interesting dilemma.
Yeah. But
I could eat veggies all day long.
I'm with you.
The meat and fat part has been a hard thing to wrap my head around. The fat part. Although, we all probably weigh more fat than we should, but to figure out how to do that and know that the fats that I'm eating are good for me.
Right.
But
I think that it's like the way I approach workouts. Our bodies are dynamic and living organisms. And so is life. And we hit different stages where we need to make adjustments. And there's a point where we no longer need to do the hit it hard workouts. We need to focus on alignment and strength and things that are going to help us for longevity. There's a point where in our nutrition, it's going to take some tweaks. Early on, we need those carbohydrates because we need the quick fuel. You're chasing kids.
Yeah.
When you're out of that stage, you don't need the quick fuel. Your body needs that fat. That's the number one fuel source it's going to go to.
Yeah.
But it makes a lot of sense to make those adjustments. And that protein is what's rebuilding your muscle. And as we age, that's harder to rebuild. So it makes sense to make those tweaks in different stages of our lives. I fully support where you are with that.
Awesome.
And with that, what I will say, my caveat with that is that I think a lot of people approach it as focusing on the meat and the fat. That is a part of that. Fill your plate up with those veggies.
Yeah, because you can eat a ton of veggies.
Yeah, and that's where your nutrients are. That's where those vitamins and minerals are that your body needs. Now you need the fat in order to absorb the fat soluble. So A, D, E, and K, which are going to be in your leafy greens, your carrots, that kind of stuff, the orange colored stuff. And you need your protein to rebuild. If you've got all those things on your plate and you're snacking on those kinds of things throughout the day, some nuts or some, eat that.
I could eat my weight in macadamia nuts, I swear. Just bring me one of those big bins with macadamia nuts and just let me go at it.
Yeah, but keep that blood sugar level and keep your body satisfied. And enjoy food. Enjoy it. This is what I discovered for myself, because I ate the typical American diet until I was in my 20s and had to make changes because of my Crohn's. And so it's, pizza, pasta, poor college student, ramen noodles, all the stuff that now I go, gag. But what was really interesting is as I discovered food and really started to learn to cook and appreciate the flavor of food in and of itself, if I went back to that other stuff, the flavor, it had no flavor. It tasted like cardboard.
I know. Yeah, it's like,
how did I do this? How do we eat this and think it's good?
I know. Since I've been on keto now, a couple months, so I have not had, and I haven't had soda in, I can't even remember, 10 years. And I'm not a real big sugar person. I never have been a big dessert person. Back before I went through menopause, there was obviously certain times of the month when a chocolate bar was all I wanted. Yeah. But I've never really been a big sweets person. And somebody brought these wonderful looking from the bakery brownies, but there was lemon bars and the little bars with the coconut and the chocolate chips and the everything in it.
Yes.
And I took just one little bite of the lemon bar and one little bite of that thing with the coconut, and it was so sweet to me. It tasted good, but I didn't want any more.
Yeah.
I could not even think of eating a whole one.
And doesn't that feel good to get that little bit to satisfy that sweet tooth or whatever you want to call it? Just desire to have that and to be done with it and to be, okay, I got what I needed. I'm fulfilled.
Yeah, I can say I tasted it. I'm good.
Yeah, I don't have to stuff myself so I feel miserable in a little bit.
Yeah.
It's really empowering when you can get to that point, I think. Yeah.
And, and like I said, it's never really been a big, my daughter, oh my Lord, I go over there the other night and she is making cream soda. So she makes cream soda. I've never seen anybody do this before. And this is my child. I'm like, where did you learn this? She takes orange soda, puts heavy whipping cream in it, then puts whipped cream on top of it. And she says it's like a dreamsicle. I don't know. It just looked like I just couldn't do it. And her husband is making coffee with, I can't even tell you how much sugar in it, iced coffee, and then putting tons of whipped cream in it. And I'm just looking at the two of them going, you guys, I swear. Sugar-aholics. Sugar-aholics. I could not do it. And I opened their freezer last night. I'm there babysitting, and there's like ice cream bars and ice cream and popsicles and one package of meat.
Oh, wow.
And no vegetables.
Yeah. And once upon a time, that's what my refrigerator would have looked like. I'll admit it.
33 with 2 kids. She's not a college student.
No, but yeah, still. Yeah. But yeah, there are times that I've learned to just be grateful for the gifts that came as a result.
Yeah.
Of getting sick.
Yeah.
It sounds so strange, but there are so many gifts that came from it, so many lessons, so many things that I've learned that I don't know that I would have stepped onto this path.
But isn't it sad that our body has to go, okay, I've been trying to tell you, you ain't listening. So here, now you have to listen.
And we all do it.
Yeah.
We all do it in our own way. And the thing that really saddens me that I've been thinking about more and more, because we'll just wrap this conversation up where we started, going back to the cells.
Yeah.
That what we do to our bodies, whether, through nutrition, through hydration, through sleep, through stress or relaxation, most of us are in stress though, through all these things, whether we're creating health or not, through any of those decisions and any of those behaviors and lifestyle things that we do, we are passing that on to our kids.
Yeah.
Even when they were being formed in the womb, that DNA was coming together, and all of that cellular information was forming that little life. And then they come in, and if we're not leading by example, because moms have the most impact of anyone to influence their child, their family, their entire family to be healthy. And so if they're learning on top of that little hardwiring coming into this world that way, and then learning that, we're setting this next generation up, and the next generation and the next, for failure when it comes to health. They already know that this next generation will not live as long as we do.
I know they're saying that, but I have, and maybe it's because I'm kind of in a quote unquote crunchy kind of group, but being involved with the essential oils and the group of young women that I'm involved with, and the team I'm part of probably has 100,000 members.
That's awesome.
And when we have events, there'll be, 2,000-3,000 of us there, and probably 2/3 of them are under 30. And these young women are growing their own food and birthing their babies at home, and they're not doing sugar, and they're, I look at them and I see that they have the wisdom to know that they need to go back to the way my grandmother and my great-grandmother did things, and they are embracing it with joy and enthusiasm, and are determined to teach their children a better way. And so, I know that's what the media is saying, that this next generation will not live as long as us. I have hope that that's not true. I have a lot of hope that that's not true. I know that in the cities, there's a huge epidemic of overweight children and kind of pre-diabetic and diabetic children. And I know there's a huge problem in this country. Our children are being diagnosed with issues at an alarming rate at a very young age, with many of them life-altering issues. And so I feel really blessed when I see these young women who are so determined to do things a better way.
Yeah, we need those leaders.
Yeah.
To guide, because they need their peers. They need peers at those ages. Yeah, they're being in the field that I'm in, and it's I also know women who live in the way that you're describing. And I sub at the high school. And so I see a whole nother reality. And I love and applaud that we have those women and those families willing to live that way. And then there's a whole bunch of other issues going on that would take a whole nother podcast to discuss.
Yeah.
But there's a whole lot going on for these for these kids growing up now that, thank goodness I didn't have to deal with social media as a kid. I think back on that so much. I'm like, oh, thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
As one example, and they're kind of coming into this world with soil that's depleted and with an ocean that needs some serious, serious help and some things that we need that generation to rise up.
Yeah.
And we need to rise up. My generation needs to rise up.
Yeah.
But it's going to take all of us. But I hope that those few leaders, those few already demonstrating that, can help to start to turn that ship.
And I think you're starting to see the tide. I think that part of the reason we're going to see that tide shift, and I think it's going to be in a fairly short amount of time, is because so many young children are having so many issues.
Yeah.
People are starting to go, wait a minute, time out.
Yeah.
What the heck is going on?
And medicine is so expensive.
Yeah, and they're starting to look at, where is this coming from?
Mm-hmm.
We can't just go to the doctor and expect they're going to fix it. We've got to figure out where it's starting.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. There's an opening for naturopathic, for chiropractic is now accepted, for all these, for functional medicine, for integrative medicine, for these other ways that are trying to get to the root rather than just mask it with another pharmaceutical.
Yeah, another chemical. Let's throw another chemical on top of the chemicals that are probably already causing the problem.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't be here without Western medicine. I wouldn't be here without doing the other stuff.
There's a place for
marriage
all
of both. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
we really have got to get back to letting our bodies do what they do best.
That's right. That's right. And I really do. It took me a long time to work through this because I was angry for a long time at, what did my parents do? And, all these things, like, why didn't they know better? Because they didn't.
Yeah.
They were doing the best that they could with the information that they had.
Yeah.
And yes, there is a genetic predisposition. And I've come to the conclusion that no one disease comes from one thing. It is the perfect storm that's going to turn that sucker on. And when things are out of balance in our body, it just breeds, it's breeding ground. It's like when a pond is taken over by moss.
Yeah.
So it is what it is, but we have more information now, and we are more empowered to make everyday decisions intelligently.
And I think we're learning that our ancestors maybe knew a lot more than we gave them credit for.
Heck to the yeah.
It was thousands of years ago doesn't mean that they didn't have wisdom and knowledge.
No, well, Ayurvedic medicine is still being practiced, and there's plenty of research to validate it.
Yeah.
The chakras that are used, that we talk about in yoga, that's your central nervous system running up along your spine. Chiropractors know now that those are your nerve bundles that they talk about, and that's exactly what they govern.
Right.
The Chinese meridians. Those are innervations, and chiropractors understand this, and so do acupuncturists. It's innervation where those nerves, yes, they do run to that organ. It is all legit and backed by science now. It fascinates me. That's why now I'm ready to roll again.
Yeah.
But
I love to study some of that ancient stuff, and it's amazing. And I have friends that go, oh, but people died so young back then. Yeah, but when they died, it was usually from accident or war or
like an infection from a wound.
Yeah, it was something. And even most of the time it was because of an accident or because somebody attacked them, or
it wasn't from
or an animal attack or something like that. It wasn't from disease as often. And definitely not the number of diseases that we deal with.
Right.
Because they worked more to be healthy.
Yeah.
And they lived off of the land and the food that was available. And sure, I know that there were periods of starvation and, I understand all that, but I don't know. It just fascinates me that a lot of the ancient medicine is just really so valid.
Yeah. The ancient world was wise. I mean, they understood keep your water clean and purified. They understood these things. And that's what happened in the Dark Ages and the Middle Ages was some of that stuff. They didn't have a sewage system and some of that stuff. So all of that bred disease.
Yeah.
But the ancient world, like, man, if you want to understand health, study the ancient world. Hippocrates.
Yeah.
It just fascinates me. That's why I don't get all caught up in fads.
Yeah.
I'll sit back and watch because I think that there are some really brilliant things that are happening. Like we touched on epigenetics earlier. These things that we're finding out more. And if you pay attention, it validates
the ancient.
You already know it does. It validates the ancient, the energy medicine.
Yeah.
The using food and herbs and the chemical from that as your healing.
Yeah, and God didn't create this garden just for us to use visually.
Amen.
He created this garden for us. It even says in the Bible that he created the garden for food and for medicine.
Yeah.
And, it's all around us. And even Big Pharma knows that. That's where they got a lot of the synthetics they have is by studying the things that are of this earth.
Right.
And so.
Isn't that such an interesting example of what happens when we get out of God's law and man tries to play God?
Yeah. And it doesn't work out quite as well as they think it will.
No. But we still have this ego.
Yeah.
Ooh, our way is better.
Yeah. And we convince ourselves that that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Or we let other people convince us.
Yeah.
And I see that again so much with so many people that are especially as they get older, they put so much faith and trust in the doctors. Yeah. And they really, I see my friends going through this with their parents right now, that my friends don't really know because they've never been in a situation to deal with these issues because they aren't that old. Right. And they're just now starting to have to help their parents deal with these issues. And things like, I have a friend whose mom, they diagnosed her with congestive heart failure. This was a vibrant, active woman traveling and she got pneumonia. Yeah. And they said she had congestive heart failure. Well, when you get pneumonia, it can cause fluid around your heart. That can cause that. Yeah. They put her on hospice.
Oh my goodness.
It was like, what?
Oh my goodness.
So it's been this whole thing that's been going on since before Christmas. And she went back in the hospital this week, and just this week, They put her with a cardiologist finally. And I kept saying to my friend, your mom's not ready to die. What, huh? It just didn't make sense to me. But she didn't know. She was trusting the doctors who were telling her this is what needed to happen.
Right.
She just wants the best care for her mom.
Yeah.
She just doesn't know. This is the first time she's ever heard of congestive heart failure. So the whole thing is new to her, and dealing with, the fluid buildup and all these things, and understanding all the drugs and what they do and how they interact. You have to educate yourself, because they're not going to educate you. They're just going to keep giving you drugs, and they don't always even know how they're going to interact.
Yeah. Well, and I've learned, go to your pharmacist to find out how the drugs interact, because they're the ones who will catch
questions. Yes.
The doctor, not always. They don't always catch from that list if you went in with things before. They don't always catch. They just prescribe.
Yeah.
If you really want to know about a drug, talk to your pharmacist.
Yeah. Always ask questions of your pharmacist.
Yeah. And I have a great one. He's so good.
Most of them are. Most of them are very good. And I've even seen some of them go, maybe we need to call your doctor, because I'm not sure you should take this with this.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I've seen pharmacists do that.
Yeah, they can intervene. They can definitely be in your court, and they're a good person to form that relationship with and to help educate you, because there's so much information and so much to read up on every single drug. And
I'm just a big advocate of taking responsibility for your own health.
I agree.
It starts with what you put in your mouth.
Yep.
It continues right through to the knowledge that you garner from the experts, quote unquote experts, and don't be complacent in just taking what anybody says as fact. We're supposed to discern everything we hear, not just in religion, and everything. We should be discerning it as whether it's truth or not, and whether it's truth for us.
Exactly.
Our bodies, like we said earlier, are intelligent. Yeah. Your body will tell you in short order whether you really need what they're trying to give you.
That's right. That's right.
By muscle testing, you can do that. There's a lot of different ways that your body will let you know.
Yeah.
That are pretty amazing and muscle testing to me was like, this can't be real, but it has just proven over and over and over, proven itself to me over and over again.
I agree. And if you're not sure, close your eyes. So you're not flipping it in your mind, or so you're not altering it. Close your eyes and let someone else do it.
Yeah.
If you want
to lean test, close your eyes and hold it and do a lean test.
Yeah.
It just amazes me every time I try that. It's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was pretty clear,
Yep.
So, well, gosh, girl, it's been so good to spend some time with you. We need to do this more often.
I know. It was fun.
Yes.
Yeah, we could go off on a lot of topics.
Yeah, I think we could probably
because we just have so much in common, and that's what's fun. That's what I just enjoy, your posts and when we're together in Global Voice Radio and things. I really do enjoy it.
Maybe we should do a show like Coffee and Wine.
No joke.
Come up with a show like that.
I know we could do a series easily.
Yes, we could. And I might have to talk to you after we get off here about our little seminars that we were talking about earlier.
Awesome.
You might need to come be a guest.
I would love to, if it works.
It would be fun.
I would really love to, if that worked in my schedule. I'd love to let people play in their bodies.
Yeah. Awesome.
Fantastic.
Tell everybody how they can find you and where they can reach you.
You can find me on Facebook. Just look up Holly Wade Wellness. And my website is down at the moment, but it will be back up in about a month, www.hollywoodwellness.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter. And if you have any questions, Holly at Hollywood Wellness is the easiest way to get a hold of me. If you'd like to schedule a 30-minute health assessment, I'm happy to do that, to give that to you for free and just see where those gaps might be in your lifestyle and your health and what it might take to get you back on track, because sometimes we just don't know. So I'm happy to visit with people.
That's awesome.
Create health.
And anybody who would like to reach out to me, you can find me at My Life Redesigned on Facebook and at Coach Vickie Wash on Instagram and Twitter, and at my website at vickiewashburn.com. It's been a pleasure. I hope you have a blessed and vibrant week.
Host of The Boomer's Guide to a Vibrant Life. Connect with Vickie at www.globalvoiceradio.com. Tune in next week for another edition of The Boomer's Guide to a Vibrant Life on Global Voice Radio, where your message and your voices are heard.